Hi, I'm Nicola McKenzie, founder and mortgage advisor here at DM Mortgages. In today's video, if you're considering buying a new build property, then this is one not to be missed because I'll be sharing with you some very useful tips and pitfalls that you should be aware of so that you can avoid them. So for more information, stay tuned. Now, before we get into the detail of today's video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you never miss any future video uploads. Now, here at DM Mortgages, to give you the best viewing experience, we don't monetize this channel. So in return, to show your support when the time comes for you to consider your mortgage or remortgage options, then make sure that you head over to our website, which is dm.mortgage, and there you can book in for a free of charge appointment with a member of our fully qualified mortgage advice team. Now guys, there are many advantages to buying a new build property, such as you're going to be chain free, so you're not buying from somebody else that needs to then find another property to move on to. The property is going to be vacant, which means that there is a lot less risk in that respect in the house buying process. And of course as well, if DIY isn't your forte, then a new build property can be advantageous for a number of reasons. However, you need to understand that all that glitters is not necessarily gold, and you need to understand that there are still pitfalls that come along with buying a new build property, and that's what I'm going to explain in today's video. Now, another benefit to buying a new build property is that you will, of course, get your 10-year new home guarantee. So that does provide a degree of peace of mind as well. But like I said, there are things that you need to be aware of when you're buying a new build property so that, again, you're going into the transaction with your eyes wide open. Now, you need to make sure that you are not paying too much for the property. Now, it is a proven statistical fact that on average, you do pay more for a new build property because you have to accept the fact that the benefit of having no renovations to do, a new build warranty and all of these things, is going to come at a premium. So on average, looking at statistics, you would pay 29% more for a new build property. Now bear in mind that is an average because again, it depends on what developer you're buying from. Some will put on more of a profit margin compared to others. So they're not all the same, but the reality is you do pay a premium for a new build. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because it's going to take a few years before you start to build up equity in the property, and it's likely to be a few years before you're in a situation where you're starting to really see the value of that equity. So I think the point I'm making is that if you're not buying a new build property as a medium to long-term investment, then you need to really have a think about that. If it is a long-term investment for you, long-term investment, typically 5 years plus, then again, the fact that you're paying a slight premium for it will over the long term iron itself out, but it is something that you need to consider. Now, the other thing that you need to bear in mind is that the price you're going to pay for things like carpets, fixtures and fittings aren't always going to appear the bargain that you might think they are. They will all come as part of the price, and it saves you, yes, having to use your credit card, for example. But the price of these items over the next 25, 30 or 35 years, because that's probably how long you'll be paying for your mortgage, again, the interest that you're going to be charged on these items is going to add up over the long term. So in the end, the cost for these fixtures, fittings and carpets may end up costing you a lot more money. Now, you also need to bear in mind that these things typically need replacing 4 or 5 years down the line. But of course, you're still potentially paying for the original cost of these items over the long term in your mortgage payments. So again, it's just worth bearing in mind what the costs are of these carpets, fixtures and fittings, and the method of payment that you're going to use to be able to have them. Now, the next point is a really important pitfall to be aware of, and it's probably one of the single biggest things that frustrate me with some new build developers. Some of them will put an incredible amount of pressure on a potential buyer to exchange in unrealistic timescales. So exchange of contracts is essentially where you're legally committed to buy the property and you would pay your deposit at that point. And a lot of new build developers will put pressure on buyers to do that within a 28-day period. So that means they want you to get your mortgage approved, get all your searches done, all of the solicitor work done within that 28-day period. Now, for reasons outside the buyer's control, it can sometimes take longer than that. And you could see yourself out of pocket in a scenario where the builder feels that you're taking too long to get to that point. Now, this is a common issue with new build developers, and it's something that has been written about quite a lot actually in national press, newspapers, etc. And it's something that the housing industry, generally speaking, is trying to find ways to resolve, because it is an ongoing issue with new build developers. It's more so in the developer's best interest to exchange quickly as it is necessarily for the buyers. Because another key point for you for me to mention is that should your mortgage offer, so let's say that you exchange contracts 28 days after reserving a new build property. Let's say that the property is not due to be built for another 6 months. If that builder delays the build of that property, you could see that your mortgage offer expires, and there's no guarantee that you would get that mortgage offer the second time around. Not to mention, especially given interest rates at the moment, whilst they have been coming down over the last few weeks, but they're still a little bit higher than they were, at the end of 2021, for example. But if you see your mortgage offer expire, then that lender, you may need to pick a new rate of interest. And if rates have gone up in that time, that could see you out of pocket. And again, if you pull out of the sale after you've exchanged contracts, that, like I say, can leave you financially vulnerable and out of pocket. So there are risks really to weigh up with this. And I think a lot of these risks depend on, is the new build property already built? If it's not, how long is it going to take to be built, and what is the likelihood of that builder not delivering on their timescale? These are all things that you need to weigh up when deciding whether or not to purchase a specific new build property. As a viewer of this channel, I assume that you're considering purchasing a property in the near future. So it's important for you to know that DM Mortgages are an award-winning team of fully qualified mortgage brokers that provide advice to clients all over the UK. Now, we spend countless hours making free content for YouTube and other social media platforms to help to give you guys sound and useful information to make sure that you're in the best position to make informed decisions. To support this channel, when the time comes for you to consider your mortgage options, we want you to book a free online mortgage appointment with a member of our fully qualified mortgage advice team. Because without your help and support, keeping this channel going simply isn't possible. Now, we searched thousands of mortgage products from high street and specialist lenders to find the right deal for your circumstances. And we also provide a free will writing service to every DM client. So head over to dm.mortgage and book in for a free mortgage appointment when the time comes. And also make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you find the content useful. But for now, let's get back to the video. Now, the next point I'm going to mention, which again is, in my opinion, a really big issue with some new build developers, is that they will push and put pressure on buyers to use their in-house mortgage services and conveyancing solicitor services for that matter as well. Now, what you need to understand is, what is the builder's main motivation? It is to sell the homes that they have just built. So for you to use their in-house mortgage services and solicitor services, if there is an issue with that property or any general issue, do you think that that mortgage broker or solicitor is going to have your best interests at heart or the developer's best interests at heart? It is a quite clear conflict of interest to use the in-house mortgage services or conveyancing services of the people that you're purchasing the property from, because they have one motivation, which is to sell the property, whereas you have a motivation. You want, obviously, you should want an independent opinion on, the transaction that you're about to enter into. So don't feel pressured to use their in-house services if they insist upon this, because it's not fair and it's not right. You should be able to buy a property on your own terms, and it's actually breaking the law as well. It is illegal to force somebody to use in-house services. This goes for estate agents as well, when you're buying a property. So just be mindful of that. I think it also begs the question that if a builder or developer is pushing that much pressure on you to make you use their in-house services, I don't know what kind of impression does that give about the property they're building, really. Is that the sort of builder that is going to put, you know, the quality of the build first, or are they really just there to push properties? So I think you've just got to really think about that. And, you know, don't be afraid to walk away, because there are plenty of other developments for you to look at, and just make sure that you're doing things on your own terms. So I would always advise that you keep your finances separate from the developer. Obviously contact DM Mortgages, but whoever you're using, just make sure that it is independent and impartial. Now, another tip is never be afraid to negotiate. Just because it's a new build property, developers are just like anyone else trying to sell a property. So try and achieve the best price possible. Now, also, it's worth you looking at the price of the property without the fixtures, fittings and carpets, because that will give you an accurate idea as to how much you're paying for those additional items, how much has the price of those items been inflated. So make sure that you look at the cost without fixtures and fittings, how much are the fixtures and fittings, and then you can work out from there where and what to negotiate on the price. So those are all my tips and pitfalls for you to be aware of if you are considering buying a new build property. Now, of course, DM Mortgages help many of our clients to purchase new build properties. And like I said, we act as an impartial mortgage advice company that can look at thousands of deals from high street and specialist banks and building societies to find you the best mortgage option and deal. And there's plenty of other things that we provide along with our mortgage advice service as well. So head over to our website, find out what we do and how we can help you, and there you can book in for a free of charge appointment with a member of our mortgage advice team. And I hope that's been useful. Subscribe and hit the bell if it has, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video.